Hello there, I'm Riley Kudzik, and today I'm going to talk to you about Thor, the god of thunder. Thor is a prominent figure in today's pop culture thanks to the films and the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but the mythological stories he's from are far less known. I feel it's important to know more about Thor's mythological stories, so let's get into it. Some mythologists state that Thor is the child of Odin and Jord, while others say his mother is Frigga, the queen of the gods. Thor is an Aesir, which is the main group of Norse gods, and when he was a child he was remarkable for his size and strength. Very soon after he was born, Thor amazed the gods by playfully lifting and throwing 10 large bales of bear skin. Despite usually being good-tempered, the young Thor could fly into very dangerous fits of rage, and due to these rages, Thor's mother sent him to be raised by Vingnir and Hlora, who eventually eased Thor's temper. Once he was old enough, Thor was admitted to Asgard to sit amongst the gods, and he was also given the realm of Thrudheim, where he built his palace Bilskirnir. Thor was first married to the giantess Jernsaxa, who gave birth to his sons Magni and Modi, who are depicted here. Magni and Modi were destined to outlive their father and survive Ragnarok, and to rule over the world born out of Ragnarok. Thor's second wife was Lady Sif, who was renowned for her long and beautiful golden hair. Sif gave birth to Loride and Thrud, who was renowned for her size and strength, much like her father. One big difference between the mythological Thor and Marvel's Thor is in his relationship with Loki. In the movies, he has an adoptive brother relationship with Loki, but in the myths, Thor and Loki aren't brothers, adopted or otherwise. However, Loki and Odin are sworn blood brothers in the mythological tales. Most iconic of Thor's equipment is undoubtedly his powerful hammer Mjolnir. Mjolnir was forged by Brock the dwarf during a competition against Loki, who had recently shaved Lady Sif's head, which greatly angered Thor. Mjolnir is very important to the pagan beliefs of Thor, but we'll discuss that more later on. Thor had an iron gauntlet named Jarngripir, which enabled the thunder god to firmly grasp his weapon. Thor also wore the magic belt, Migingjord, which doubled his already remarkable strength. The rumbling of thunder was said to come from Thor's chariot that was pulled by the goats Tangnjostir and Tangrisnir, whose teeth and hoofs constantly cast off sparks. Chief amongst the mythology of Thor are the many stories of his slaying of frost giants, such as Thrym, Geirrod, and Hymir. Thor slew the giant Thrym and his family on a quest to retrieve Mjolnir whilst he was disguised as Freya. Thor kills Geirrod and his daughters after Geirrod challenged Loki to bring the thunder god to his home without his fabled equipment. Geirrod and his daughters tried to defeat and kill Thor, but Thor was able to overpower them and defeat the giants. Thor also killed Hymir as well as a host of other giants in order to acquire a massive kettle in which the gods intended to brew beer. Jormungandr. Jormungandr was a child of Loki. He was cast into the sea by Odin because he feared that the serpent would aid in the destruction of Asgard and the gods. Jormungandr eventually grew to such gargantuan size that he encircled the whole of Midgard and could bite his own tail. Hence the name the Midgard Serpent. Jormungandr was the most powerful of all the giants and proved to be Thor's greatest struggle. At Ragnarok, Thor battled Jormungandr in a battle that would claim both of their lives. Thor slew Jormungandr before staggering for 9 steps and eventually succumbing to the serpent's poison and dying. Thor is probably the most important god of late paganism, as medieval Scandinavian sources present conversion as a struggle between Thor and Christ. Hammers are obviously very important to the believers of Thor due to his wielding of Mjolnir. Small metal hammers such as this were worn around the neck on necklaces that were the only archaeological suggestion of talismans associated to specific items of the gods. The hammer was considered so sacred to Thor that people would make the sign of the hammer to ward off evil and to secure blessings in a similar way to the Christian sign of the cross. People widely worship Thor due to his being a preeminently benevolent god, and they never fail to invoke the thunder god at the Yuletide festival in hopes for a favorable year. Thank you for watching, and I hope that you learned a bit about Thor's background and mythology, and I hope that you can compare it to his Marvel counterpart.